It was the 5th of June 2020 and sisters Bieber Henry and Nicole Smallman decided to gather with friends at Friant Country Park located in Wembley, northwest London for Bieber's 46th birthday. The evening would be full of laughter and joy as the friends who had been isolated from each other due to COVID restrictions would finally come together. The group would sit down, have drinks, play music, and enjoy each other's company, documenting their time together on their mobile phones. But as the sun went down and the stars began to shine, one by one friends would start to leave, leaving the sisters all alone. The sisters opted to stay in the park to carry on the celebrations, where they continued to document the night, taking selfies of themselves playing with fairy lights and dancing together. What they didn't know though was that they was in the path of a killer who had signed a contract with a demon where he agreed to murder women in return for millions in the lottery. The picture that's up on your screen right now is hypothesized by the Metropolitan Police Service to be both Bieber Henry and Nicole Smallman turning to their left and coming face to face with their killer.
Do you have any injuries?
Yeah.
Just the wrists from the cuffs?
No.
Oh. How did that happen?
Sorry?
How did that happen?
Oh, is this the interview?
No, that's a question. How did the injuries on your fingers? What happened there?
3 days prior to the murder, at the time 18-year-old Daniel Hussein would be captured leaving his father's home address on Old Kenton Lane, heading towards the Asda on Edgware Road. As he enters the store, he picks up a few items before grabbing a set of knives and then heads for the checkout. He's asked for ID in order to purchase the knife set. He proceeds to remove his face mask and hands the cashier a passport in order to confirm his identity. Daniel then leaves Asda and heads back to Old Kenton Lane, where for the next few days we're not entirely sure what he gets up to because reports don't exactly make it clear. But if we fast forward to the 5th of June 2020, sisters Bieber Henry and Nicole Smallman would head to the Kingsbury Co-op at around 7:30 PM where they purchased food and drinks for the birthday party. They appeared to be in good spirits, with Nicole having a chat with the man next to her at the checkout. From here, they make their way towards the park, CCTV again showing them entering via the Slough Lane entrance just before 7:40 PM. Once inside, they headed towards the top of a hill to set up camp. The weather was good, the campsite passed the vibe check, and soon after friends arrived where they ate, drank, played cards, and listened to music. As darkness fell, guests would start to leave, and by midnight the sisters were alone. It was clear the sisters wanted to party all night, as they had been captured on their phones playing music and dancing with fairy lights. At around 1:04 AM, Nicole decided to send a text message to her boyfriend saying that she was dancing in a field. But little did he know this would be the last time anyone would hear from her. After this, it's thought that Bieber had set up a phone to take a series of images using a clicker device, recording 150 images in sequence of them dancing and having fun. In the final image, captured at 1:13 AM, Bieber and Nicole could be seen looking to their left, as if distracted by something, and that's something the Metropolitan Police Service believe is Daniel Hussein armed with a knife that he purchased from Asda. Daniel's evening on the 5th of June 2020 started out at a similar time to that of the sisters. At around 7:45 PM, he's captured leaving his address on Old Kenton Lane, wearing blue medical gloves, a mask and a rucksack, which isn't thought to have alarmed anyone due to the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. He walked to a nearby bus stop where he took the number 204 bus to Edgware Road. He then enters Morrison's supermarket, where he went on to buy some alcohol and collected an Amazon delivery of a full-face balaclava and 2 folding shovels contained within a pouch. All of the items were placed in his rucksack, and he made his way to Friant Country Park, arriving via the Larkspur Close entrance at around 8:40 p.m. The ongoing birthday celebrations would have been about a 5-minute walk from here and clearly visible given that the group were on top of a hill. Now, we've been following both parties closely via CCTV on the 5th of June, but unsurprisingly there's no CCTV coverage within the park, so we don't exactly know what Daniel gets up to, but he stays at the park for over 7 hours, and police believe he likely saw the group, sat there, watched them, and then approached. When Bieber and Nicole spot something to the left, believed to be Daniel, the circumstances aren't exactly clear as to what happens next, but it's thought that Bieber would go on to be attacked first. She was taken by surprise, quickly overpowered, and was stabbed 8 times. 6 times to the chest, once to a groin, and once to her back. It's believed that 3 had penetrated through the heart and lungs. Any of those 3 would have killed her. Unlike her sister though, Nicole did see the attack coming. The stabbing was described by police as frenzied, relentless, and savage, which resulted in her suffering 28 stab wounds to her chest, back, arms, legs, and hands. It's believed that she was killed by 2 wounds to her lungs. She also had injuries to her hands and arms, which were caused when she tried to shield herself from the attack, with her legs being cut as she tried to kick out to defend herself. After the vicious attack, it's believed that Daniel dragged both bodies 75 meters to a wooded area, seemingly in an effort to hide them from public view. He then attempts to clean the scene up, placing a number of items from the party in rubbish bags or concealing them in the wooded area. He then throws their mobile phones into a pond within the park. At around 4:07 a.m, he's finally seen leaving the park, minus his trousers, with his jacket tied around his waist and right hand tucked into the makeshift waistband. By the evening of the 6th of June, after there was no word from the sisters, friends and family became concerned, so they were reported missing. On the same day, Daniels picked up on CCTV attending the Northwick Park Hospital, seeking treatment for his hand. You see, during the attack, he sustained cuts to his hand. The police believe he potentially lost grip on the knife once it was wet with blood. Once arriving at the hospital along with his father, he's approached by a nurse. He explained that he'd been robbed the night of the murders, and said that he didn't wish to contact police regarding the matter. He's then stitched up by the hospital before being referred to the Royal Free Hospital to see a plastic surgeon, and is then discharged, where he returns home. The following day, on the 7th of June 2020, after family and friends had become concerned about the sisters' welfare, they began their own search, retracing the footsteps of the 5th/6th of June 2020. A search of the park was made by the group, and soon after, Bieber's sunglasses had been found. Her friend took them to a police station whilst some of the others continued to comb the park for clues. They would stumble upon a kitchen knife lying on the ground, and although the side of the blade that they seen appeared to be clear, the friend who had found the knife said they felt something was wrong and so contacted the police to tell them about the discovery of the knife. Whilst on the phone to the operator, he ran towards the trees, forcing his way through the bushes, and it was then he discovered the 2 bodies. After seeing the 2 sisters lifeless, the friend began to scream in horror at what he just discovered. Soon after, the police arrived at the scene, and a murder investigation was opened. Due to the size of the crime scene though, it was going to prove a significant challenge, and crime scene examiners spent 3 weeks conducting fingertip searches of the area, leading to the discovery of a number of relevant items. Firstly, officers were directed to the kitchen knife found by friends. It was heavy rainfall that made it appear that it was clean, however once the knife had been flipped over, it was stained heavily in blood, with a later DNA showing that it belonged to both Daniel and Nicole. Amongst the foliage of the hedgerow close to where the bodies were discovered, officers found bottles from the party which Daniel had discarded. They were stained with blood, which was later identified as his own. Basically, his blood had been all over the place, being found on leaves and branches close to where the bodies were discovered. Further inquiries would lead police to a refuse site where bags had been discovered. In these bags were 2 blankets and cushions belonging to the sisters, which were covered in blood, later to be identified again as Daniel's. But at the time, police couldn't connect Daniel to the blood found at the scene because he wasn't on the police database. And after going through hours of CCTV, doorbell and dashcam footage, along with taking hundreds of statements in the weeks that followed the murders, detectives still had no clue as to who murdered the sisters. The only breakthrough they had was that the person must have suffered an injury to the hand, because a latex glove was found at the scene with cuts on and the suspect's blood. Determined to make use of all the opportunities to them, the police decided to bring the National Crime Agency on board to help with the investigation. It was here, through identifying relatives of the suspect, they struck gold and quickly identified Daniel Hussein as the main suspect.
Someone's coming to you. That's him. That's him. Mate, you're under arrest. Come out. Come out the address. Keep walking towards me. Keep walking towards me. Stay where you are. Stay where you are. Stay where you are. Hands on your head. Stay where you are. Face me. Hands on your head. Stay where you are. You're under arrest, alright? Yeah, tell him to do it. Give him to face the car. Yeah? Yeah.
From Uniform Zero, just confirm subject secure.
Occupant number 6, if you just stay where you are for now. If police aren't with
I think I'll be
taser.
clear in a second.
Is there a mum in there?
Yeah, there is.
Okay, madam, if you come to the door for us, please. Okay.
Do you have any injuries?
Yeah.
Just the wrists from the cuffs?
No.
Oh. How did that happen? How did that happen?
Sorry?
How did that happen?
Oh, is this the interview?
No, that's a question. The injuries on your fingers. What happened there? Okay, don't worry.
I was getting the wrong.
Don't. Any medical conditions? Asthma, diabetes, blood pressure, heart conditions, anything like that? No.
I thought this wasn't an interview.
You're not being interviewed. The questions are asked to everyone that comes into custody.
But you're writing down what I just said.
It's alright, just listen to what
I thought you were supposed to do an official interview before asking me the actual question.
you will be interviewed later.
Recording the information.
And what this is at the time, it's you just being booked in. Okay.
Any mental health issues?
Excuse me?
Any mental health issues?
No.
Have you ever tried to harm yourself? How do you feel right now?
I'm in shock, to be honest. I'm really confused and scared. I don't know what's going on.
As he was being arrested for the murders, Daniel blurted out, quote, "Yeah, that's near my grandma's house," in reference to the crime scene location. When he was taken to Wandsworth police station and later questioned, police asked him how he got the injury to his hand, which he replied that he had been robbed. But after finding a mountain of evidence to go against him, he was eventually charged with the murders of both Bieber Henry and Nicole Smallman. He pleaded not guilty to the charges that were brought against him, and he was recently put on trial. In court, he denied murdering the sisters and claimed that all the evidence against him was false. He went on to say the DNA wasn't his due to him not giving police a blood sample. He didn't purchase the knives, it was someone else, because he had reported his card missing in the days that followed the murder. He would even go on to deny being the person caught on CCTV, but you catch my drift, he pretty much denied all the evidence that was put against him. He tried to make out this was a conspiracy designed to frame an innocent man by planting his blood and DNA around the park, but it's what police found at his home that pretty much had him banged to rights. When his room was searched, police found a handwritten document purporting to be an agreement between himself and a demon. Here he promised to sacrifice women in order to win the lottery and not to be suspected of the crimes he had committed. Underneath this agreement, he would go on to sign it with his own blood. 3 lottery tickets were also located inside the note, and subsequent CCTV inquiries showed that Daniel had purchased those exact lottery tickets. After the overwhelming amount of evidence that was stacked against him, he would go on to be found guilty of both murders and is to be sentenced on the 22nd of September 2021. After the verdict was given, reports had started to come out that Daniel had been referred to the Prevent Anti-Terror Scheme in October of 2017 over concerns he was vulnerable to radicalization and violent extremism. Here he was given support and intervention through the Channel De-Radicalization Program until May of 2018, with follow-ups after 6 and 12 months. After this time, there was no further concerns reported. It's thought that just before the lockdown, he was due to fly out to America to study, but after becoming locked in his home, he became sucked into an online cult. The cult, police believe, had links to the incel movement, someone who's unable to find a romantic or sexual partner despite desiring one, which over the years has been the reasoning behind many school shootings and mass murders across North America. With women being the victims and potential victims moving forward, hadn't he been caught, the Metropolitan Police Service and terror experts believe that Daniel was in fact an incel.